This is the True Believers Bible Study with Ray McCollum. Let's figure things out.
Welcome back to the True Believers Bible Study. We've been looking at the overview of Scripture, seeing the Bible as one book, two parts, an Old Testament and a New Testament. Today I want to consider the unifying factor that really connects the Old Testament and the New Testament. The theologians call it the Scarlet Thread of Redemption. The Scarlet Thread of Redemption. It's the story of how God saves his people, beginning in Genesis, right on through the book of Revelation. This could be considered historically as chronology. The thing that stumbles many people in the Bible, they think that the Bible is chronological, that it's an old book. It describes the history of the world and of mankind, and they think the story is going to be told sequentially or in historical sequence, but that's not the case. But we can find that chronology if we focus on the salvation that God gives to men, beginning in Genesis and ending in Revelation. Let's just, for example, begin with the Old Testament. The first 5 books of the Bible are very chronological. They are pretty much told in the sequence that events actually happened. And in Genesis, we see the stories of these key men: Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. And Genesis ends with the death of one of Jacob's sons, Joseph. So we see the story of Adam, Noah, Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, and then one of his sons, Joseph. And Genesis ends with the death of Joseph. Then we come to the book of Exodus, and we look at the story of the Scarlet Thread of Redemption, beginning afresh with Exodus. After the death of Joseph, 400 years later, we begin with the story of Moses, and we see that story carried on through the books of Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. Then when Moses dies at the end of the book of Deuteronomy, we come to the book of Joshua. Joshua was Moses' protege. Joshua was Moses' disciple. So the story picks up chronologically with the story of Joshua, and that's the central character of the book that bears his name. Then Joshua ends with the death of Joshua, and we come to the books of Judges and Ruth. After the death of Joshua, we see God send various leaders that are called judges, and there were 13 of those. That the notable figures like Gideon, Barak, Deborah, Samson, Japheth. And Ruth is a little book that describes events that took place during the times of the judges. So we see 13 of those. The Scarlet Thread of Redemption changes when we come to the books of 1st and 2nd Samuel. Those 2 great books have 3 primary figures. Samuel, the great prophet, who was alive at that time, during the time of the judges, Saul, who became the first king of Israel, and then the character in 1st and 2nd Samuel, one of the great heroes of Scripture, is the story of David. And then we follow the 1st and 2nd Samuel with the story of the kings in the books of Kings and Chronicles. And then we come to the prophets, which ministered during the times of the kings. So if you look at that from the big picture, you can see a chronology, a scarlet thread of redemption, really beginning with Abraham in Genesis, carrying through Isaac and Jacob's sons, including Joseph. Then we see the story of Moses. Then after Moses dies, we see the story of Joshua. After Joshua dies, we see the story of the judges. And at the end of the period of the judges, we see the establishment of the kingdom under Saul and then David. So that gives you an idea of how this scarlet thread of redemption is a good way to link all the books of the Bible together. And we've looked at some of the Old Testament books today from Genesis through Kings. We'll pick up the rest of this next time. Meanwhile, please like us, follow us, share this podcast with others, and we'll see you next time.
True Believers Bible Study is made possible by people just like you. To make a donation, please visit truebelieversbiblestudy.com.